Hello, this is Jim Lange, and I'd like to talk about the proposed legislation known as the death of the Stretch IRA. Well, first, what is a Stretch IRA? A Stretch IRA is the ability to at least somewhat defer income taxes on your IRA, and when I say IRA, I'm going to include IRA, 401k, 403b, SEP, KEO, 457 plans, other types of qualified retirement plans, money that you have not yet paid income tax on, but someday somebody will, unless you leave it to a charity. But anyway, the Stretch IRA is the ability for typically a non-spousal heir, most likely your children or child, to continue the tax deferral feature of the inherited IRA after you die. Now, in a more basic video, I always say don't pay taxes now, pay taxes later, except for the Roth and the accumulation stage, the distribution stage, and the estate planning stage. So this is the estate planning stage, and under current law, your heirs, let's say typically children, assuming everything is done right, which means that it was drafted correctly before you died and you had the appropriate estate administration after death, typically your children, or better yet even your grandchildren in the form of a trust, could take very small, what starts out as very small distributions for which they have to pay tax. So that means the majority of the inherited IRA can continue to grow income tax deferred, which is a wonderful feature. And in today's law, where most of the tax is going to be related to income tax, not federal estate tax, because we now have a $10.8 million federal exemption for married couples. So the key to planning for at least the vast majority of us is not to avoid federal estate tax, but to avoid federal income tax. And that's what we're really talking about. So the Stretch IRA allows your family to continue the deferral of income taxes on your IRA and retirement plan after you die. The death of the Stretch IRA refers to proposed legislation that will not allow your family to continue the tax deferral after you die, but will make your family pay income taxes on the entire inherited IRA or retirement plan within 5 years of your death. Well, this is going to be a pretty devastating blow to your family, and what I'm going to do in this video is first talk for a minute about how likely it is that this proposed law actually becomes law, and then I'm going to give you some idea of what it could mean, let's say, to your children after you die. So first, to give you some idea of the impact, let's take an example, and let's forget about the exceptions and the exclusions for a moment. So let's say that you leave $1 million to your child of an inherited IRA. And let's assume that you do this under existing law, all right? And what we have here, and it's shown in the green line if you can follow it, is a reasonable projection using certain assumptions, which we'll get to in a minute, of where your child will be over time. So I'm assuming your child is 46 years old at your death, that he gets to defer the income taxes to a very large extent over the IRA, and this will continue literally throughout his life. Now, let's compare using the identical assumptions, same interest rate, same income, same expenses, same everything else, except instead of dying under the existing law structure, you die under the proposed law structure where your child's going to have a big income tax hit, and he's going to have to pay income taxes on the entire $1 million plus any growth within 5 years of your death. And instead of having $2.5 million towards the end of their life, your child will have zero. So basically, it's the difference between your child or children being completely financially secure or literally being broke. So the scope of this and the impact of this proposed law is pretty devastating. So then the next question is, okay, Jim, this is only proposed law. Do I really have to worry about it? Or is this just something that, you know, that you attorneys like to worry and scare people? Well, let's take a look at how likely this law is going to pass. Well, first of all, this proposal has been around for a long time. In 2013, President Obama wanted it. The Republican House wanted it. It was only the Democratic Senate that stopped at 51-49. And in September 2016, on a bipartisan 26-0 vote, the Senate Finance Committee voted to recommend to the Senate to abolish the Stretch IRA. In other words, exactly what I was fearing. All right, now, you might say, oh, gee, Jim, you know, it's harder to predict what's going to happen with future tax legislation now that we have President Trump and a Republican Congress. And I would agree with that, but this is what I would tell you. In the past, if you had a 26-0 vote by the Senate Finance Committee, it was basically a done deal. It was only a matter of when this was going to be passed. We also know that both President Trump and the Republican Congress wants to cut taxes. But we also know they need revenue from somewhere to pay for all the stuff they want to buy. So where are they going to get this? Well, there's proposed legislation, bipartisan support, 26-0. It's already drafted. All you have to do is just take that little chunk of law, add it to whatever tax proposal you're going to make, because this isn't going to be a standalone vote. This is going to be one part of a much larger law, and boom, it's in. The way it's written now is whenever it passes, so let's say it passes in June or July or let's say sometime in 2017. The way it's written now is it will apply to any IRA owner who dies after January 1, 2017. So I actually fear that this is going to apply to all of us because we're all going to die after January 1, 2017. So in summary, I think that this law is coming. I think it will be devastating to your children. We have a series of videos talking about the law, the likelihood of the law, and perhaps more importantly, what you can do about it. Anyway, one of the things that we have also done is we have done a 1-hour webinar for explaining all these things. You don't have to go to individual videos if you want to see the whole thing. And we've got a lot of nice comments about it. So what you might want to do is click on the link below, and what that will do is that will take you to a place where you can sign up for, and it's all free, for the free webinar. So I would urge you, find out about this law, find out what you can do to protect your family by clicking on the link below and taking the time to listen to the 1-hour webinar. I think you'll be very glad you did. Thank you.